Yeah, he's got great hair, doesn't he?
Yes, I know. Well, you have great hair too.
Oh, thank you. So
There
do
you go.
you.
Well, now you've got a show on Friday with 3 people with great hair.
All 3 of us have great hair, Jordan Miles.
We're doing something. We're living right.
It's a win-win.
We're living right, aren't we?
Jordan. All right, we're going to go to you in about 15 seconds here. Judah, we can rock and roll when you're ready. Good Friday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you for joining us on a gorgeous Friday across the Commonwealth, Central Virginia, the country, and the world here on the I Love CVille network. We are live on every social media platform known to mankind, and today's show, an impactful one. We will have Leah Puryear joining us on the program in about 15 to 17 minutes. We're going to highlight her tenure on Charlottesville City School Board and discuss why she is seeking re-election for the Charlottesville City School Board. Her reputation speaks for itself in this town. Quite an impact she's had on the city of Charlottesville already. Before we get to Leah, we're going to welcome a new friend to the program, Jordan Miles, a supervisor in Buckingham County, a gentleman that's making an impact in this community, fighting the good fight against CenturyLink. And on that note, Judah Wickhauer, our director, if we could go to the Skype camera with Jordan Miles, who's kind enough to join us. First, good afternoon, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be with you all today. Thank you for your time.
It's absolutely a pleasure. I think the world of the Miles family. I think the world of your brothers, your father, as you know. First time I've had the pleasure of chatting with you here virtually. Why don't we introduce yourself to everybody that's watching?
Sure. First of all, thank you all for taking the time to watch out of your lunch break or after the fact. I'm Jordan Miles. I'm a native of Buckingham County. I'm on the County Board of Supervisors, where I serve as Vice Chairman. I proudly represent the good folks in the Maysville District. That's Election District 4. My career is in nonprofit management leadership. I work for an area agency on aging called Piedmont Senior Resources Area Agency on Aging, and I'm Director of Nutrition and Transportation. I also serve on the Commonwealth Regional Council Planning District Commission. And I served, and I was appointed, very thankfully appointed last October to the Virginia Tobacco Commission by the governor. So that's a little bit about me, but I love rural Virginia. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for the people who live here, and making sure that rural Virginia, namely Buckingham, is treated with the respect that we deserve and are not going to be forgotten.
Jordan Miles, our guest, guys, supervisor in Buckingham County. Cindy Snoddy giving you some props right now. Bud Akers giving you some props. Bud says Jordan is a remarkable young man. He is a blessing for Buckingham. We are quite proud of him. He will go far in life. You got NBC 29. You got NBC 29.
Yeah, nobody paid him to say that either.
He said it on his own. NBC 29, CBS 19, and the Daily Progress watching here. All right, I'm going to get out of your way. CenturyLink doing a disservice not only to Buckingham County, but Southern Albemarle, Scottsville, yes, and parts of Fluvanna. Give us the play-by-play, Jordan.
So, again, I'll say this, that, the leadership, and I understand that CenturyLink was just purchased by another organization. When things like that happen, the little guys and gals are forgotten, and those out in the middle of nowhere, and we're kind of proud to be in the middle of nowhere because we're living here. And rural Virginia needs not be forgotten when it comes to corporate leadership, corporate responsibility, because CenturyLink has an obligation to the people of, whether it's Buckingham, Fluvanna, Albemarle, rural Virginia, to give us the tools we need to live a good life. And one of those includes communications and picking up the phone and actually having a dial tone. And too many people across this region, and I'm going to lean in on Buckingham because that's the county that I live in and I work in. I'm leaning in hard on CenturyLink. They are not giving people in rural Virginia the respect they deserve. It's a clear, blatant disrespect. I mean, you ride along the roadways. I was in Charlottesville yesterday for a doctor's appointment, riding up 20, through our mall, and you see these pedestals. These are connections for local hardline telephones, and they look like a bomb went off in them. It's a matter of upgrading infrastructure. It's a matter of good customer service. And right now, we are not getting what we deserve. And these people are paying their bills. It ain't like they're not paying the bills and the phones are getting cut off. It's like one lady I talked to who lives up in the Andersonville area, talking about local up in my district. She has cancer and she needs her phone to check in on her family check on her. But if something happens, she needs to call 911. She needs to call her doctor's office. For almost 2 months, she didn't have a dial tone. There's a guy up the road from her who needed to get hold to his elderly mother, and he couldn't do it. He didn't have a dial tone. Somebody yesterday who was living up in the northern part of the county, they needed to work from home, his wife. She didn't have internet. I mean, it's 2021. We should not be having these issues in rural Virginia. It's that simple. It's that simple, and CenturyLink needs to understand that this isn't this isn't going to be a one and done event where they fix a few things here and there, and then we're going to forget about this, because we're not, because the phones are going to go out again until they upgrade their infrastructure, put the money where their mouth is in terms of what they want to be doing, and put new lines in the ground. With all this COVID money and everything going around, the body money, the money is there, and I'm sure even without it, CenturyLink, Lumen, Apollo, whatever you want to call them, we call them CenturyLink, they have the money. We had a representative on my town hall meeting who it was very fact of the matter. She said, we're in the business of making money, and I understand that, but you need to reinvest in the communities that are failing. It's that simple. It ain't rocket science. Maybe they think it is. Obviously it is, because they're not doing it, but that's what needs to be done, and they need to focus and not forget rural Virginia and get these phone lines fixed. This is a health and safety issue. When people can't pick up a phone because someone is sick to call 911, somebody needs help, or just want to talk to their doctor, want to talk to their caretaker, and they can't get hold of anybody. And even the elderly, those who are on fixed incomes, school children who are having to quarantine and learn from home, and so many people work from home, they rely on that. I've talked to one constituent who lives at Sprouse's Corner, and she was working from home due to the pandemic, and she almost got fired 3 times. Well, at least once, because she was hosting a class, and the CenturyLink internet would go down like that, and everybody's kicked off, and that was that. So anyway, we're going to continue to lean in. I've been talking to CenturyLink a little bit today about some busted pedestals, which can oftentimes lead to no telephone or internet. So that's kind of where we are, and we need, and I would call on local leaders and challenge them that are in Fluvanna, Albemarle, wherever these issues are happening, to stand up like we're doing and actually do something about it. Be vocal and try to get some change.
This topic is very timely, and I'm going to do something different here. Judah Wickhauer, I'd like to work Leah per year into the mix for this interview. And Judah, if you can get her on screen here. Jordan, this topic hits close to home for Leah. I know you can't hear him, Leah, but can you relay into the microphone some of the challenges your mom has experienced? He can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Jordan. When I heard you this morning on television, it immediately went to my mother's most recent experience with CenturyLink. Mother is 93, and she wears a life alert that is tied to her landline. On September 10th, that was the last day she had service with CenturyLink. So when we called to report the outage, and I gave them all of the necessary information, I presumed that they would come within a 24 to 48 hour period. They told me the earliest they could come out to address the situation was September 23rd.
Case in
My
point.
mother is 93. The last day of service was September the 10th. She received a bill from CenturyLink this week, and the dates of service were September 19th through a period in October. I don't remember because, they bill you after the fact. Well, Mother
Sure.
has not had service since September the 10th. I will be reaching out to CenturyLink. I have asked them once. I will reach out to them again and ask them for an updated bill because we will not be paying for services that we don't have. We just
I agree
have,
with you 100%.
Absolutely. We haven't had them, and we're not paying for a service that we didn't have. So when you know that someone uses your system for life alerts, life supports, telemedicine, and the best you can do is the 23rd, that is an awful long time.
Well said. Well said. Let's get Jordan's take on that.
It's unacceptable. Yeah. So,
So what I want to do, Jordan, here is I'm getting her an earpiece. She has an earpiece now. She can hear what you're saying and your response to what she just offered.
well, that's pretty typical of what's going on in Buckingham County. I had a gentleman who said that he has elderly family who are in very poor health, and he needed to get hold of somebody to try to check in on him. And he picked up the phone. The wind had been blowing a little bit, like a little breezy. He picked up the phone, no dial tone. So he tried negotiating with them, and I don't think he got far at all because he tried to call a customer service rep, and he probably ended up in India by way of Bahrain or something like that. And it's so frustrating. But yet this is so typical. And the other thing is that we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a doggone. They're not really wanting to move a lot especially if they're older, they're immunocompromised, or even those who are unvaccinated. They're at home, they're trying to work, they're trying to take care of people, they're trying to take care of themselves, namely, and the phone goes out and they can't make a call, and then the internet goes out, and it's totally unacceptable. And we need to, the folks in these rural areas like us, we need to stand up and CenturyLink and say, no, this is not acceptable. And just say no, and demand a better service. I'm working with Senator Mark Peake, who represents Buckingham in the General Assembly, and we're working with some other state legislators on a joint letter to the State Corporation Commission, because somebody's going to have to look into it, and somebody's going to have to lay the hammer down and say, listen, this is what you're going to have to do, or else. And I think the State Corporation Commission should get involved, and maybe even the Attorney General's office should get involved. Again, this is a health and safety issue, just as Ms. Puryear was saying with her mother. And people who are on pacemakers and things like that used to have to use the telephone to check the pacemaker. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Maybe Ms. Puryear knows. But anyway, when you have no phone, well, you can't check your pacemaker. Hope you don't have any heart issues because you might die.
So this is what I'd like to do. Leah, let me get your take on this. First, let me acknowledge some of the viewers that are watching.
Okay.
And then I'll pass the mic to you.
That's fine.
We have Lisa Johnson giving you the thumbs up. Sandra Moss, thank you, Jordan, for taking on this serious issue here in Buckingham. Sue Jones, thank you so much, Jordan. Daniel Sanger IV, CenturyLink was the worst service I have ever had. I'm glad someone is speaking out on it. Jordan has always been helpful. Even if you live in a different district, he considers the whole community part of his responsibility. Really good guy here in Jordan. Donna Miles, Cumberland is the worst. We will welcome the Richmond Times-Dispatch newsroom to the show, the Daily Progress newsroom, CBS 19, and NBC 29, all on the feed. Leah, what is on your mind?
Jordan, the length of time that I was on the phone to speak to a customer service representative, I consider unacceptable. I was on the phone for over an hour. I was on my cell phone because Mother didn't have her landline. And so consequently, we had to navigate as best we could. Fortunately, she's does not have a pacemaker, but she depends on the Life Alert, which is connected to the landline. So if she presses the button, there's no way for her to connect. And so that was an extremely scary situation. Yes, I have a cell phone, and yes, my sister had a cell phone, and we were with her all of that time between the two of us so that she would be, able to be connected to someone. But I still say, as someone who has retail experience, if you have an issue and you are told on the 11th of September that it is going to be until the 23rd of September for us to address this issue, that is unacceptable. And the
I agree
persons
100%.
and the persons that you are concerned with are seniors as well. Mother being
That's exactly right.
being 93, the people that you are speaking about over 65, and their ability to get to and from and do what they need to do to conduct their daily lives. And if any person had had a medical emergency that didn't have someone with them who had a cell phone or another form of communication, where would that person be? And I think that CenturyLink maybe understands this, or maybe they don't, but I don't understand why we don't have the required service that the individuals are paying for. Everyone that you have spoken to does not have their phone disconnected. Their bills are current, their bills have been paid on time, and this is the thanks they get for doing what they're supposed to do, paying their bills on time in a timely fashion, no service. Okay, we didn't have a hurricane, to my knowledge, on the 10th of September. We have not had a derecho. We haven't had an earthquake, any, natural disaster that would take out everything. We are talking about landlines and wires and all of the things that go into having service. Some people's service may be above ground, some may be below ground, but still, someone should be on the scene looking at the equipment. The pictures that were shown this morning... The pictures that were shown this morning on television were deplorable. They were horrible.
They were horrible.
It looks like a bomb went off in one of the places.
If
you didn't see it,
I was thinking,
ride around the county and open your eyes.
I was thinking, did they have a hurricane? Did they have a derecho in Buckingham County and nobody reported it to us? Because that's how it looked. That's exactly how it looked.
Jump in here, Jordan.
Yeah, I love my job. I work for an area agency on aging, Piedmont Senior Resources, where we cover 7 rural counties. Buckingham is one. We do home delivered meals and medical transportation, homemakers in the home. 90%, well, actually, so 90% of our referrals, 90% of how we communicate with our older adults who are homebound, who don't have a ride to the doctor, who need their nutrition. So, how are we supposed to do that without phones? You can't. You can go out there, and obviously we do that. We have to do annual reassessments in person for some programs, but 90% of all of our business is conducted over the telephone because that is where we meet seniors where they are, and that's their method of communication is telephones. And I know several small businesses. I mean, there's so many aspects of this situation that we're in with CenturyLink. Small businesses who phones are in and out, they have literally lost revenue. Again, during a pandemic, it's just mind-boggling to me. So that's the situation. And again, we're going to get the State Corporation Commission and hopefully the AG's office involved and lean in. And I'm going to keep fighting. So if they don't want to get involved, but I have a feeling the State Corporation Commission has an eye on this, thanks to Senator Peake.
Jordan, you got comments coming in. Linda Chambers, thank you, Jordan. Joyce Edwards, watching. Teresa Gao, watching. Jason Rareham, I cut my phone off because it was such horrible service. I couldn't use it anymore. You also have the Seville Weekly now on the program here. Guys, if you have comments for either Leah or Jordan, please put them in the feed. We're live on every social media platform possible. So, timeline, where do we think this is going to be resolved? Is it going to be up to the new owners to fix this? What are your thoughts?
You're damn right it's going to be up to the owners to fix this. So timeline is that Evan Feinman is a friend of mine. He's the executive director of the Virginia Tobacco Commission, and he happens to be the governor's chief broadband advisor. And there was a lot of talking, throwing out about the VOD grants, and you can probably anyway, it has to do with broadband and telecommunications. And CenturyLink was saying, well, the locality can apply for broadband through VOD to help and so on and so forth. So I'm going to get Evan Feynman on the phone from the governor's office and CenturyLink, or whatever they call themselves now. Yeah, CenturyLink. And see how true that is, because it's my understanding that VOD, which they put up, the General Assembly put about $700 million of money in it, which is great, because we need to expand broadband. We're doing it here in Buckingham and across Central Virginia. But that money, to my knowledge, doesn't go into fixing only telephones. So again, there's some sort of a disconnect there, and we need to get that straight before we move forward. But I know that a letter has been drafted in terms of timeline. It's a little loose, Jerry, but Senator Peake's office has drafted a letter. I haven't seen it yet. I talked to Delegate Ferris yesterday, and we're trying to move the needle a little bit on getting that joint legislative letter out so we can get that to the State Corporation Commission. So that's kind of where we are, and I'm monitoring things in Buckingham best I can, and riding around and looking at pedestals and feeling like I want to scream, but just keep fighting.
We appreciate your commitment to Buckingham. Final question for you, Supervisor Miles. Is this the number one priority or the most talked about issue that you're hearing from citizens and voters alike?
It is one of them. I wouldn't say it's number one, but it's certainly number one for the people who don't have telephones and who see this stuff riding up and down the road and can't get hold to anybody. And one example was that if 983 is primarily Dillwind and 969 is more Buckingham, that's what we call it. Well, there was one issue where if you had 969, you couldn't call 983. If you had 983, you couldn't call 969. I mean, you might as well have a tin can in the string, at that point. So, but anyway, no, it's probably not. COVID-19 has impacted businesses, schools, our whole livelihood. So the effects of COVID-19 have been talked about a lot, especially with the schools, because there are people who are unvaccinated who have chosen not to get it, or the smaller kids can't get it, and so they're having some issues there with quarantining and all. But no, trying to keep our public schools open and keep everybody on the same page is probably the biggest issue, but certainly number two would be telecommunication. But the Board of Supervisors has invested a great deal of time and energy in working with Fire, which is an agreement with Dominion Energy on expanding broadband, and that's happening day by day. So I hope that answers your question, and I hope it wasn't too long-winded.
No, you did a heck of a job. Supervisor Miles, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your efforts. Thank you for joining us today. I hope to do it next time in person with you.
We'll do that.
You have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right, take care. And let's get Leah in the mix here, Judah Wickhauer. This is a testament to Leah. So we're here to talk about her candidacy for school board and her tenure on school board. But she has she's dynamic and has the perspective to offer on this. So Leah, we have multiple comments coming in thanking you for speaking up about this as well from folks in Buckingham, Fluvanna, Albemarle, your friends and family. Why don't we dot the I's and cross the T's on this topic, and then we'll get to your campaign.
All right.
Anything else that you'd like to add on what CenturyLink is doing to folks here in Central Virginia?
Well, I really appreciate everything that Jordan is doing. For those of you that don't know, I am director of Upward Bound, and Buckingham County is one of the counties that we recruit from their high school, as well as Louisa and Fluvanna, and we recruit from high schools in Albemarle County, and some of the residents do live in the southern portion of the county. And so when they do not have access to their phone or their internet, because CenturyLink also provides internet, that is a hindrance to them. Everything we are currently doing is virtual, and so that impacts their ability to participate virtually. So I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing, and also to all of the people that live in the counties that are affected that will continue to speak up, because that's what we have to do. We have to all be one voice. We don't always agree, but this is something we can all coalesce around, and it is very, very important.
You know what? I'm going to give you the round of applause on that. Excellent work.
Thank you.
Leah is on fire today, and we're going to get you smiling in this camera right here. I'm going to relay some good words from your friends, your family, from voters. Cecilia Allen, so glad Buckingham is improving. James Bryant says, Leah and Jordan, your comments are on point. CenturyLink is terrible, very poor service. This is why I left. Cecilia Allen says, happy Friday. James is giving you the heart emoji right now. Caroline Walker, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Rosa Atkins, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Janelle Lynch, Leslie Jones, hello and welcome to the broadcast.
All my fans,
Monica
my fan
Nicole,
club.
Monica
my
Nicole,
goodness.
Upward Bound and Buckingham County High School alum, 2002.
Yes.
Kim McNeil, thanks Jordan. My phone's been off for 3 weeks this month. Eloise Patterson, hi Leah, my former Upward Bound director. Donna Allen, bottom line, we are paying for a service and CenturyLink needs to do better and be held accountable. You have 5 states watching the program right now. The feedback and the positive attention you're getting from voters and friends and family, what's that mean to you?
It means the world. It means the world. I do what I do because my grandmother was an educator. She was a teacher. My parents believed in public school education, and we were educated through public schools, and they always stood for what was right. And that is what I believe in. You may not always agree with me, but we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. And everyone has a voice. And during all of my campaigns, even today, when I meet with parents, the one thing they say to me, Jerry, is, I want better for my child than I. And it doesn't matter whether they have a high school education or whether they have a PhD. They want better for their children. And that is what I am here to do, to be the voice for all students, for all parents, for all people here in our Charlottesville community, because we must stand up and take a stand against injustices. And we are all seeing that CenturyLink currently is an injustice. So we must do that.
I'm giving it to you again right here. She's on fire right now, in fuego, Leah Puryear. All right, let's do this. You are running for re-election.
Yes, I am.
Your legacy and your commitment to this community, well documented, positive, and quite impactful. Please let everyone know that's watching the program, and you got quite a few right now, why you seeking a spot on the board for another term.
I am seeking another term on the board because of RAP. Let's rap, Jerry. And that is reflecting on the past, advocating for the present, and projecting to the future. The city of Charlottesville has a great legacy. Our immediate past superintendent, Dr. Rosa Atkins, has laid the foundation.
She's watching.
And what we must do now is pick up the gauntlet and keep moving forward. As we have often said, education takes place other places than in a building. And guess what? We found that out in March of 2020. COVID hit, we had to pivot, and we went virtual. And I must say, I give an applause to all of the students, the teachers, and the families and the administration of our CCS family, because they had to step up and do something that we never thought we would be doing. We went 100% virtual. Every student had technology. So regardless of what form of technology, if you didn't have it, we had it for you. If you needed a hotspot, we had it for you. The teachers had what they needed. And the families, God bless you. I know some of you were tired. I know some of you weren't ready, but we were there to support you. And I think the most fun thing, I know you say fun during pandemic, yes. The most fun thing was when I got an opportunity to hand out the technology to students and their families at Greenbrier, when I got to go to Friendship Court and pass out meals, because every student got meals every other day. You got breakfast and you got lunch, and you came on Mondays, you came back on Wednesdays, and you came back on Fridays. So giving out the meals to the families was just really heartwarming. And how we all banded together. Yes, we were tired. Yes, we didn't know. And what we all found out was, for the first time in our lives, because we haven't had a pandemic since 1919, so for the first time in our lives, we didn't know. When I grew up, if I didn't know something, I could ask. And if the person I asked didn't know, they said, well, let me find out. But everyone was learning with the pandemic. All of our medical and health professionals, all of the educators. So when you said, do you know, or can you help me? And you said, well, no, I don't know. It's just like the playbook. We went play by play, and we read the playbook, and we implemented every step of the way. And we developed our mitigation strategies. We were very cognizant of health. So we have now hired our mental health support team, and we have our mental health workers in our buildings, because we have all suffered some form of trauma from COVID, whether we've had COVID, whether we've known people that have had COVID. Unfortunately, many of us know people who died from the disease. We know people that are long haulers from the disease. But we've banded together to develop a health and wellness program in our school division. We are all about health and wellness. We are about safety. We are about equity, because one thing that COVID has shown us is that there is inequity in our society. And the CCS family has banded together to be equitable. And by being equitable, everyone, regardless of your zip code, regardless of your address, you had a hot spot if you wanted it. You had your devices if you wanted it, if you needed it. If they died, you called a number, and guess what? You got a new one. You got another one. So it was never an issue of not being able to have what you needed. Our instructors and our instructional team banded together to meet with the students virtually. If we had to do something face-to-face, those things were done with the COVID protocols in place, because we do have some of our students that had to be in our buildings, but they were safe, and we did all that we could do to protect them, and we continue to do that today.
You are awesome. She
you.
is awesome. I love this lady. Katie Carter says, you go, Leah. You go, Leah.
Oh, my gosh.
Dr. Atkins, Rosa Atkins, thank you, Leah, for advocating for all students and families. You are a strong and effective leader. James, thank you, Leah, for inspiring me to come out of my comfort zone. You are amazing, and our teachers, students, and staff members are all the better for it. You are amazing. Jennifer, a mom of 2 in Charlottesville City Schools, thank you to Leah for helping lead this school system through an unprecedented time, a pandemic that no one planned for. I feel confident in Charlottesville City School leadership. And it continues. I mean, it absolutely continues here. Let's talk about what you would like to see if you're elected during your term, and how it could differentiate from previous terms.
There are 2 things, there are probably more than 2, but the 2 things that stand out to me now, Jerry, are equity and inclusion. Just because we have diversity and equity does not mean we have inclusion. And we have worked to develop our equity department, and we have a director of equity and diversity. And our HR department is working to develop a diverse workforce. And I want to be 100% behind those efforts, because it's one thing to be at the table. It is another thing to have a voice at the table and to be heard. And that is what inclusion is. It is not only being at the table, but it is being heard, and it is being respected. You have been at many tables where you probably were the youngest one at the table, and sometimes you left those meetings feeling like, they didn't hear me. They didn't respect me. Well, I don't want that for any of our students, whether they're young, whether they are Black, brown, Hispanic, if they're in the LGBTQ plus IA community. all voices must be heard and must be respected. The next big heavy lift for the city schools is reconfiguration.
I was going to ask you.
It's there.
It's the hot topic.
It's the hot topic, and we're not on Wendy Williams.
That's right.
But the hot topic for I Love CVille is reconfiguration.
She is so good.
And so it's got to happen. We've been talking about this ad nauseum. We need to do this. And you say, why? Because, I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
No problem.
I hope I didn't break it.
No.
But we must do this for more than one reason. We've got to do it for an equity standpoint. We need to have our preschool in a preschool center. We need to have our kindergartens through 5th grade in one building. We need our middle school in one building. And we will continue with our high school in one building. But this building must be state of the art. It must be in the 21st century and beyond, because our students deserve that. Yes, we have issues and concerns as it relates to academics, but if you're in a building that is not current and we're trying to teach you current, how are we going to be current? And so we want to have a building that is representative of the type of education that the instructors at Buford Middle School do every day. They deserve it. The teachers deserve it, and our school division deserves it. It's important. It's all about equity.
Dolores Brock giving you some props. Rosie Hill giving you props. Leslie Scott Jones, loving what she's hearing from you. 5 states watching the program literally as we speak. I'm going to acknowledge this comment that was tied to what we were doing with Jordan and you, and this is from Nathan Miller, who's a professor at Piedmont and JMU. He says this: we need a 21st century version of the Rural Electrification Act of 1936 to give us reliable internet and electric service right now. It's way past time to update our infrastructure, much of which dates nearly 100 years old. I cannot teach via Zoom in Rockingham County if I don't have reliable connections and service. This is a national crisis that must be resolved. Nathan, great comment. I'm going to localize that comment for city schools here with Leah. How did we do with managing the homes that didn't have the best ISP to help students learn during this pandemic?
And that's why they had hotspots, so that the hotspots could beam up to, as they say, beam me up, Scotty? Beam us up to the satellites so that they could do what they did. Now, granted, all of us have and are suffering from Zoom fatigue.
Amen.
So there's sometimes that we may be on, or we may have to send a text or make a phone call or send an email and say, Jerry, we missed you today. Make sure you're on tomorrow. The one thing that I have been impressed with our staff is that we ask at the beginning that you show your face, and we know that sometimes because you're using a hotspot that pulls on your device, and with video, it may make you freeze. But just show us your face once so we know that you're there, and keep your camera off, but keep your mic on so that you can hear and you can participate and you can be included in the conversation. So I think we did very well. I'm really pleased with our IT department. Thank you very much, Mr. Cuomo. His name is Pat Cuomo. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support. So here's an intriguing question that's coming in. Jerry, please ask Leah's take on vaccines. Charlottesville City Schools are requiring all student athletes to be vaccinated to play winter and spring sports. What are her thoughts on this topic? And this is from a mom of 2.
Hi, mom of 2. I think it's an excellent idea. I received my first 2 vaccines through the Charlottesville City Schools. We were all at the Performing Arts Center, which is the Martin Luther King Jr. Performing Arts Center. It's the auditorium of CHS. We are now doing vaccines at each individual school. There was one held yesterday at Jackson Via. I was unable to help because I was celebrating my mother's 93rd birthday. So Dr. Baptist practice. Thank you very much for excusing me. But I think that it's important, and we are working and watching everything coming out of the CDC and Dr. Fauci's office so that we will be prepared when a vaccine is available for children under 12, for all children that want it, whose families agree with doing the vaccine and not for medical reasons. We will be ready and able to do what we need to do. Because one of the things that we must understand, mother of two, is that the Charlottesville City Schools are committed to health and wellness. And health and wellness includes safety. And we want all of our students and everyone in the CCS family to be vaccinated so that we can be healthy for your children. And I understand how important it is to be healthy. I understand the trepidations that many people have around the vaccine. But I want you to know that Mother was fully vaccinated with her first two at 92. And so she's seen a lot more than we've seen. And she did it, and everyone followed suit.
And this is a hot topic. I'll ask a follow-up question. There are other vaccines that are required of students to come to schools.
Yes.
It just happens that COVID and this pandemic and these vaccinations and these masks happen to be at the same time and era of a very divisive presidential election. And unfortunately, masks and this vaccine have been politicized so much because of this past presidential election that it's become its own firestorm. But please put in perspective, there are other vaccination requirements of students outside of COVID.
Yes, and all students have to be vaccinated. If you come to school and you're not, then you are sent home.
You have to show proof,
and
right?
You have to show proof,
Yeah.
and if you don't have proof, then your family is contacted, and until you can provide us proof, then you're not able to be there. And so I think the issue with COVID is people just don't know. But if you look at countries such as China, the people in China wear masks all the time because of what? Smog and all of the various things that are out there. So the masks are protecting people, and you don't know what you don't know. And I think people are afraid of this disease, and yes, I'm calling it a disease. Yes, it's a virus, but it is a disease. It kills people. And so consequently, we need to do what we need to do to not only protect ourselves, but to protect the people that the parents have entrusted. The families are we are sending our children to the buildings, and they trust us. They are trusting us to keep their children safe, and we are doing that to the best of our ability. Our mitigation strategies are working. We're social distancing. We are wearing masks. We have mask breaks. There are times when the children can go outside unmasked. We have places where they can sit. So we are saying that you may not be in the building all day. There's going to be time when you can be outside and breathe in some fresh air, and we're going to be social distance. And we are asking all of the families to help us in this effort. It's a team effort. It's Team CCS. That's what it is.
Montenegro Chavez. Mrs. Puryear is the type of leadership we need here in Charlottesville City Schools. Linda Bowen, I am so proud of Leah and her accomplishments. Thanks for a fantastic interview. Good night. You have a lot of people giving you some support right now. It is just absolutely storming in here. Support for her. Devin Wildley, welcome to the broadcast. Ms. Peck, welcome to the broadcast. She's come on this program before. We love her. Olivia, is it Gabby? Welcome to the broadcast. Hello, and thank you for joining us on the show. Let's throw this to you here. Moving forward, as we continue to manage the pandemic into 2022,
yes.
Do you see the virtual component of curriculum and education being prioritized even more? I had a guest on the show yesterday, Nikki Hernandez, who's a teacher at William Monroe High School.
Yes.
And as part of her Master's of Education, she studied a school in Southern California called Hybrid High. And Hybrid High, hence the name, did a mix of virtual and in-person learning. Do we see locally in this community this hybrid high concept getting stronger momentum?
Hi, Nikki Hernandez, Spanish instructor for the Upward Bound program at the
you know her.
University of Virginia.
You know her.
Yes.
Let me tag her so she jumps in on the mix.
Yes.
That Nikki.
Yeah.
She was here yesterday, right there.
Okay, well, that Nikki that was here yesterday, right here, is one of our instructors for our virtual Upward Bound Saturday session. And as Dr. Atkins shared with me when the pandemic first hit, she said, Leah, this pandemic is going to make us think outside of the box. And I think that there were some students that did very, very well virtually. And there were some students that didn't do well virtually, okay? But what we can do now is we can do a hybrid. We can do virtual, and we can do face-to-face, because there are some people that prefer one over the other. And what we need to do is to continue to look at the best way to educate our students. And we have students that want to do virtual. We have students that want to come face-to-face. And I think right now, most of our students want to come face-to-face because I think they're tired of sitting behind a computer. I don't know if they are upset because they've got to get out of their pajamas and their sweats, but they just want to see their friends. A lot of this, Jerry, is human connection, and you can't connect over the internet. It's fine to do Zoom and wave at people and say hello, but at some time you just want to be around. Even if you're social distance, whether it's 3 feet or 6 feet, it's just the idea of seeing someone that makes it all the difference. But I think that with the program that we developed last year virtually, and knowing that that's what we had to do because we had to pivot in that direction, I think that that's something that we can very easily think about doing, because we have people that want to do virtual, that did well virtual, instructing virtually. We have instructors that want to be in the classroom with their students. And so I think that moving forward in the 21st century and going into the 22nd century, I think you're going to see more hybrid, like Hybrid High, that Nikki is looking at. I think that's the wave of the future.
Charlene Underwood is giving you some love and some props right now. Carolyn Walker, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Every media outlet in town is watching this right now. Kedrick Perry, proud of you, Leah. Mr. Chavez says, yes, Nikki is a class act and a close friend and colleague, Jerry. It's so funny. And in this community, the longer you stay, the smaller it becomes. The more you realize that everyone is like 2 degrees apart of each other in every circumstance. I'll throw this to you here. How positive, how bullish are you for this coming school year? Now, we're a little bit into this first semester. We have the holidays right around the corner. Mm-hmm. Give us an idea or some take on why you're positive and bullish for what's ahead.
Because the people around me that do the work are that way. The students are excited. I love waking up in the morning and looking out my door and seeing the students walk to school. I love when the parents say, thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you to the schools for all that they have done. I just believe that we are going to just hang in there and we're going to stick to it and it's going to keep going. Now, understand, if the pandemic surges and Delta just gets out of control, CCS is prepared. We will do what we need to do to educate our students. If it's virtual, if it's face-to-face, if it's a combination, we are here. We have hired a new superintendent who starts on Monday, Dr. Royal Gurley, and he is fired up and ready to go. So why
do you like him?
I like him because he's like you, Jerry. He's high energy. He knows technology. He understands students. He loves families. He understands the intergenerational isms of schools and students and parents, and he wants to take the good work that he has done and bring it to Charlottesville so that other people have an opportunity to experience his good work.
You, how many terms in the school board for you? Is it 5? Will this be the 5th?
Re-election, winning is number 5.
That is amazing right there. Have you considered your lasting legacy in this community and what it may be? Because I'm seeing the feedback on this feed from all over Central Virginia, not just city schools, all over, okay? Your legacy, have you considered that?
No, I haven't. But I want people to know me for advocacy. I was very, very fortunate, and I don't think people understand that. I come from a family that was educated. My grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, my aunts, my uncles. So to be an African American woman who was raised in the Commonwealth of Virginia, who was educated in the public schools of Hampton, Virginia, to be able to advocate for everyone, for all students, means the world to me. Yes, I have made decisions that would not benefit my children, but that's not what education is about. Education is for all children. And so the things that I do for everyone's child, whether you live in the $1 million home or whether you live in subsidized housing. I want everyone to know that I will do my best for you and your children in the CCS family.
Round of applause again right there from Leah, who's absolutely on fire right now. How about we close with this?
Okay.
As long as you want, show is completely yours. Why should folks vote Leah Puryear in early November?
Because of my experience in leadership. I have not only been on the Charlottesville City School Board, I have been a loyal and valued employee at the University of Virginia with the Upward Bound program since 1980. When I came to Charlottesville in 1980, I was asked to sit on a local nonprofit board. And yes, Juan Diego, I think you may have been on a few more nonprofit boards than yours truly, but I learned the community through the nonprofit world, and I understood how that was a direct correlation to education. I am committed to being an advocate for equity. As a member of the Charlottesville City School Board, I had the opportunity to sit on the Urban School Board Association through the National School Board Association, and we dealt with such issues as equity, inclusion, diversity, COVID. All of those things have affected students, whether you're in an urban or a rural school division. I feel that my work speaks for itself because I'm committed. I am committed to Charlottesville. No matter what people say, Charlottesville is my home. I've lived here since 1980. So some people will say I'm not
41 years, it's your home.
Yes.
It's your home.
Some people say you're not from here, but Charlottesville is my home.
Right.
And so I have two homes. I was raised in Hampton, Virginia.
Are you a crabber?
I went to Pembroke High School.
Okay.
I'm a pirate.
You're a pirate, okay.
I'm a pirate, yes. I'm a proud Pembroke pirate. And I was on the panel that designed and developed Phoebus High School, because when Pembroke was too small, Hampton had to build another high school. So I'm very proud of that. And so I'm committed to education and to doing what needs to be done for the students and the families, not only in Charlottesville, because I'm on their school board, but advocating for all of our students that are students of Upward Bound and in Central Virginia.
I find you amazing. Inspiring.
I think you are amazing as well.
Dynamic. I mean, she literally just put on her broadcaster cap and jumped in this interview with Supervisor Miles, and it was completely unplanned, and she made the interview with Supervisor Miles even better because she had firsthand perspective to offer. Early November, it's not the 3rd this year. What day is actual election day? Early November, we'll call it.
Early November, the first Tuesday in November.
The first Tuesday in November, that's
Okay.
right. Her experience, guys, speaks for itself. It certainly speaks for itself. I am grateful for your time and your perspective. I find you inspiring.
Thank
you
you
for joining us.
I will join you whenever you send me a text.
I'm going to take you up on that.
Okay. I expect it.
Okay. I
Okay.
seriously will take you up on that.
Okay. I expect it.
Okay.
Okay.
Leah Puryear, guys, here on the I Love Seville show. 5 states joined us today. We had a number of counties across the Commonwealth on today's broadcast. City of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Buckingham County. We love you. The I Love Seville show is not just Charlottesville. It's Central Virginia in totality. We have real conversations that are positive, momentum-backed conversations that may make you uncomfortable in real time, but they're done for the reality of bringing change and positivity to this community. We're trying to be agents of positive change. We're utilizing social media for positivity as opposed to nastiness and divisiveness. That's the whole concept of the I Love Seville Network. For Supervisor Miles, for Ms. Puryear, for Judah Wickhauer, my name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love Seville show. Be safe this weekend. Keep your dollars in the community this weekend. And support your friends and family. And please embody the golden rule this weekend in Central Virginia. Thank you kindly for joining us. Have a good afternoon. You were amazing.
Well, you're amazing. It was fun.